Hey, this is Barry Livingston. I'm the next guest On Screen and Beyond.
On Screen and Beyond, an inside look into the entertainment world featuring interviews with people from the movie, TV, and music industry, news on upcoming TV and DVD releases, and the rumor mill. And now, here's the host of On Screen and Beyond, Brian Zemrak.
Get ready as we prepare to delve into the world of entertainment once again. This is episode 730 of On Screen and Beyond. I'm your host, Brian Zemrak, and this is the show that brings you a celebrity guest each week from the movie, TV, or music industry, as well as keeping you updated on what's coming your way as far as remakes, sequels, and prequels, upcoming new movies, TV and movie DVD releases, and the rumor mill. And this week, our guest is Barry Livingston, who in the 60s and 70s played the role of Ernie Douglas on the classic TV show My Three Sons. Barry will be joining us in a few minutes, so get ready for that. And I hope that you have all been enjoying the guests we've had over the past couple of weeks, including Irene Graff of Mr. Belvedere, and we had Dean Butler of Little House on the Prairie, Kathy Garver of Family Affair, Allison Armgrim of Little House 2, and Joyce DeWitt of Three's Company. And over the past 18 years, we've had all kinds of different guests, including Bruce Dern, Annie Potts, Mark Cuban, Bob Barker, Ted Nugent, and so many others. So I hope you're listening to all of those, watching some of the newer ones that we've done that we have the video on. And I hope you are enjoying those. Tell a friend about it. And you can catch all of these that we've mentioned and more, of course, on audio wherever you get your podcasts. And you can see the video versions on Spotify and on YouTube on some of those. So be sure to check those all out. And please subscribe to whatever platform you are listening to this on or watching this, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Amazon, Alexa, Podbeam, or Spotify for audio. Or if you are looking at the video version on Spotify or YouTube, please subscribe. That way you'll get them immediately as soon as they come out. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Just search On Screen and Beyond. Of course, you'll find us there on any of those platforms, wherever you want. And we have a lot of interesting entertainment news coming your way. So let's get right into it. It's time for remakes, sequels, and prequels right here on Screen and Beyond.
Please hang up and try again.
Remakes, sequels, and prequels. Director Francis Lawrence says we are closer than ever to a sequel to Constantine, which starred Keanu Reeves. We'll see what happens with that. And the Minecraft movie with Jason Momoa and Jack Black lands in theaters on April 4th. And on July 18th, it's back. I Know What You Did Last Summer. The remake will be arriving. And The Naked Gun, crazy film right there. The remake, of course, is going to be falling into theaters on August 1st. See how they do with that one, because that first one was a tough one to try to beat. And Saw 11. Can you believe it? 11 of these Saw movies have come our way, and it's going to be cutting onto the big screen on September 26th. And that's it for remakes, sequels, and prequels. Coming up next on Screen and Beyond, upcoming new movies. Upcoming new movies. Well, it looks like Ben Affleck will star in and direct Animal for Netflix. It will also have Kerry Washington and Gillian Anderson in the cast. And Relationship Goals will be a new film for Amazon MGM Studios with Kelly Rowland and Method Man starring in the rom-com. And on April 25th, nationwide, look for Cheech and Chong's last movie. Now, this is a documentary, though, not not a movie by them, but it's a documentary about the hippie duo, comedy duo. So be sure to look out for that one. And that's it for upcoming new movies. Next on Screen and Beyond, it's movies and TV on DVD and streaming. Movies and TV on DVD and streaming. 1979's Dante's Peak with Pierce Brosnan and Linda Hamilton flows on to Blu-ray and 4K on April 22nd. And Bill Murray's 1981 film Stripes marches on to 4K Ultra HD Steelbook. That's a release on April 29th. And Star Trek Section 31 soars on to 4K Steelbook on April 29th. May 6th, the classic 1967 In the Heat of the Night movie goes 4K and Blu-ray. So be sure to check that out. And Lethal Weapon with Mel Gibson from 1987 rides on to 4K and Blu-ray on May 20th. And that's it for movies and TV on DVD and streaming. Coming up next on Screen and Beyond, it's TV and entertainment time. TV and entertainment time, Outlander, Blood of My Blood. Season 1 will premiere this summer. Meanwhile, Season 8 of the final 10 episodes of Outlander will arrive sometimes later this summer, they're saying. It's kind of iffy, but they're not telling us exact dates, but we'll keep an eye out that for you. And Paradise, if you've been watching that one on Hulu, it has been renewed for a second season, so you're not just left hanging. And that's it for TV and entertainment time. Coming up, our guest from My Three Sons is going to be joining us. He was Ernie. Barry Livingston next, right here on Screen and Beyond. Today on Screen and Beyond, we saw our guest grow up before our eyes on the small screen on the classic TV show My Three Sons. Today, he is still going strong, appearing on General Hospital, The Connors, The Orville, Argo, The Social Network, Mad Men, Bosch, Notorious Nick, and so much more. He was Ernie Douglas on My Three Sons, and he joins us today on Screen and Beyond for the third time. It's Barry Livingston. Barry, welcome to On Screen and Beyond.
Right, thanks. Third time's the charm.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, it's always fun having you on. It's
Yeah.
always brings back a lot of memories to a lot of people, I'm sure.
So I'm told.
Yeah. And I was looking at it and I noticed that, of course, you weren't on the show when it first started, but this year is the 65th anniversary of My Three Sons.
Is it? Wow. Yeah, well, that would be true. It came on. I think the pilot was actually shot in 59, but I think it had its first air date in 1960. So that's crazy. 65.
I
Crazy.
know. And what seems more scary, I remember it all. So,
I probably watched it. Yeah, my brother was on the show before me, so I'm sure we were all excited about that. And yeah, we knew it was going to be a big show because Fred MacMurray's involvement and William Frawley, which we loved from I Love Lucy. So yeah, it was a big deal back in the day.
yeah. Now, did you get into acting because of Stanley being on it? I mean, you were around it all the time, and is that what drew you into it?
By accident, really. My mother took him to an interview for a film, a Paul Newman, Joanne Woodward movie called Rally Around the Flag Boys. And yeah, we weren't the most affluent people in the world. In fact, we were pretty poor, actually. But nonetheless, my mother somehow got an agent for my brother, and we went to this audition, and he read for the producers. I was, my mother didn't have money for a babysitter, so I was there, and I think I was probably about 5 years old, maybe. Anyway, the producers came out after the reading stand, and they said, "Oh, we love him. We want to, use him in the movie." And then they looked at me and they go, "Well, who's that?" And they go, "Well," my mother said, "That's his brother." And she goes, "Well, we're casting a role for, a brother to this kid, one of the kids of Paul Newman and Joan Woodward." And they go, "Does he act?" And I was like, I didn't know if I could act or not. My mother gave me the elbow, and I went, mm-hmm. And next thing you know, I'm in the room. I read a few lines, and I was cast in Rally Around the Flag Boys with Paul Newman, of all people, Joanne Woodward, great people.
Wow. I mean, of course, how old were you at that time?
I think, let's see, I was probably I think I was 58, so I was probably about 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old.
So you didn't have any inkling of, who this guy was, this Paul Newman here?
Yeah, I probably did. My parents were very savvy about the film business. They owned movie theaters in Baltimore. So
Ah,
they didn't have connections or anything. That's a whole other end of show business. The
mhm.
exhibition part of it has nothing to do with the production and casting and all that. So, but that said, they sat and they watched, every stinking movie and every cartoon and every documentary and short subject ever made in their theaters. So I'd heard them talk about it. I'm sure at home I watched the $1 Million Movie. I'm trying to think what I would have seen Paul Newman in back in '58 or something. But I knew he was a big star. I knew
Yeah.
he was, and he was very sweet and he actually would come into the schoolroom where my brother and I, and he would actually sit with us and do problems, math, work with us, and I
Wow.
was like, well, I didn't quite understand that. Nobody, I knew he was the star of the movie, and I thought, well, I don't know, does every star of the movie do that? I didn't know. But I realized after the fact, he was trying to establish a relationship with me as his son and have something probably for him to go, as a father would sit down and help their kids with their homework or whatever. And I thought, wow, how cool was that? He was doing his acting thing and lesson learned.
Now, what is this I hear about him crawling into a TV set?
Well, that's the odd ending to my little, little fairy tale. Is I was doing a scene in the movie, and I my eyes just started crossing. I wasn't wearing glasses at the time, and the director was getting really upset that he thought I wasn't focusing on the TV because I was, but to him it looked like I was looking over this way and that way, and my eyes were just all over the place. So, he was getting more and more kind of angry and screaming. And a guy named Leo McCarey, who was, an older director in Hollywood. This is '58. So he'd been around directing the Marx Brothers in Duck Soup. That's how far back he went,
Wow.
probably before. So he had no patience for this little kid. So anyway, Paul came and, hey, come on, settle down, and he said, somebody give me a puppet. You got a shot of me coming in the front door. We're supposed to ignore him, just watch the TV. Got all that. Let's do a close up, and I'll climb in this empty, those old 1950s style television sets, big as a refrigerator. And anyway, he got in it and, was kind of trying to keep my attention, waved to me with the puppet and doing a little thing in there. And again, it still looked like I was all over the place. So then they went, oh, something's wrong with this kid. And I was rushed to a hospital. The doctor said, no, no seizures, no, nothing going on. He's got an astigmatism. He just needs glasses. So I came back to work 2 or 3 days later with a pair of glasses. I remember very well them opening up a case and me selecting, like, what kind of glasses do you want? And I selected the horn rimmed, tortoiseshell ones, which I
Yeah, well,
sort
we all had.
of I know it. Well, I think I like those. But anyway, I came back and the producers went, they took one look at me and they go, the kid's got to have glasses. And they went, well, we didn't, back in the '50s, they didn't think that was a cool look. They wanted them like Stan was, beautiful blonde haired boy, blue eyes, perfect complexion, teeth. I had buck teeth and suddenly, a Howard haircut and glasses, and they went, we're gonna have to let him go. So I was literally driven off the lot. I remember being in this big limousine being driven out of 20th Century Fox Studios, going, well, welcome to Hollywood.
Jeez. For a kid your age, it must have been like, what did I do wrong? I mean,
It was weird. I know. I remember going, they didn't fire my brother. I don't know what happened to me, and you don't think two things about, I mean, I probably wasn't thrilled I had to wear glasses, but it occurred to me that they liked my brother and they didn't like me anymore. So oddly, I'm still in the movie because the very first scene that you see my character, the boy, I'm upside down, and Joanne Woodward and another a character acting Percy Kilbride have me by the feet. Apparently, I had swallowed a coin, and they're trying to shake it out, comedically, trying to
yeah.
shake the coin out. So I'm upside down. When the boy shows up in the rest of the movie and standing at his feet, it's a different kid, but they thought nobody's going to tell the difference. He's upside down. We'll just keep this footage and why reshoot that scene with another boy. So I'm actually in that movie. That was my debut upside down.
Wow. Yeah. They probably figured that, hey, one 5-year-old upside down shaking him is enough. We better not do that
I got
again.
brain damage. That probably made my astigmatism even worse.
Yeah. But over your career, I mean, even till today, you've worked with some incredible people over the years.
I've been very fortunate to work with some of the greats, Debbie Reynolds, Carl Malden, Streets of San Francisco. I did, more contemporarily, I guess. Jesse Eisenberg in The Social Network, who's really great. I think he's up for an Oscar this year. Yeah, I'm Adam Sandler. The You Don't Mess With The Zohan was a thrill. Jonah Hill. These are the more Miles Teller. These are the more contemporary actors. But again, back in the day, I was working with some really cool people. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah. Lucille Ball, you worked with. What was
And
she like?
Lucille Ball. Well, she was, a badass, ballsy, in control, controlled everything. She was very sweet to me. But yes, I was actually working quite a bit on the Ozzie and Harriet show at that time. And she knew I was an actor. And I was down, visiting my brother at the set all the time. And she'd see me down on the lot. And she'd race by in her golf cart, bandana, cigarette hanging out of her mouth, and heading to the set. But one day she went, "Hi, Barry." And I was like, "What? What? Lucy knows me?" Yeah, that blew my mind. And I was like, "Wow." And then the next thing you know, she actually requested me to be in as Gail Gordon, her boss, in Mr. Mooney.
Yep.
I played Arnold Mooney in a couple episodes, and then by that I went on to My Three Sons, and that put an end to that whole gig. But yeah, it was she was great.
Yeah. Now, Tim Matheson was on the show one time, and he was telling me that Lucille Ball, when he was working with her, she kept saying, "Speak louder, speak up."
Really,
And
yeah.
and Gail Gordon told Tim that
Oh.
don't worry about it. She does that to everybody. Was she like that with you?
I don't recall hearing that direction. I just noticed her demeanor and attitude with all of the other crew members, directors, writers, whoever else. She was quite ballsy and not a
She knew what she
wallflower.
wanted.
She was the boss. She had boss lady vibes, and she had no problem putting it out there. So yeah, she
Yeah.
she was great.
This is James Best, but maybe you know me better as Roscoe Pete Coltrane from the Dukes of Hazzard. Listen, I want you to listen to On Screen and Beyond, or I'll cuff you and stuff you. And I'm not kidding.
One of the other legends you worked with was Dick Van Dyke. And I
Yes.
mean, he's still around, and he's
Yeah.
he's Dick Van Dyke.
Crazy. I can only hope I have that much
I
mental
know.
acuity and physical stamina. Yeah, he was. It was Carl Reiner was the director of the Dick Van Dyke Show, and yeah, I had a small part. Came on, did a little bit with him, but he was sweet.
It's just incredible looking back at the different people that you've been able to, these classic people. I mean, yes, a lot of the contemporary people too you've worked with, but just looking back at those people that are gone, and or some Dick's not.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hanging in here. I'm one of the old guys now. Which is funny because I remember seeing the old guys when I was young, William Frawley, William Demarest, Arthur Honeycutt, whoever, Ed Begley, not Ed Begley Jr., but
Right.
Ed Begley Sr. I knew Ed Begley Jr. Actually, Ed Begley Jr., I was at an affair not too long ago, and he was giving a speech, and he looked at me and goes, and I have to say, the first line of dialogue I ever had in any episode of any ever show was to that guy right there. And he pointed to me, and I guess he was, he was in an episode of My Three Sons. But yeah, it was a thrill to Jimmy Stewart was a guest star on My Three Sons once. I think he was probably a pal of Fred McMurray.
Yeah.
Jaja, I mean, she was kind of a trip, but whatever.
Yeah, it's really something that so many of those people that have passed, you've had a chance to work with. So that's really great. But now, My Three Sons. How did you get that part?
Well, I had to go in and audition. I don't know if they saw a lot of people. I really don't know, but you know, they knew that Tim Considine, who was the oldest son who played Mike, was leaving, and they had to fill that slot. So it still was my three sons. So I don't know if they wrote the role for me. Honestly, I don't, but I do know I had to go in and read for the producers. And yeah, it was just another audition,
Yep.
although it was slightly different because I kind of knew the people. They knew me. I was already had done, three pretty big movies with, Debbie Reynolds and David Jansen, Jerry Lewis, and the Errand Boy,
Jeez.
Papa Delicate Condition with Jackie Gleason. So I was kind of a, proven child actor at that time. But yeah, I had to go in, read, and we were told to wait in the outer office after I did my reading. And it took forever, like 10, 15, 20 minutes. We're sitting there, and I think we were planning to leave directly from there to go to Palm Springs, and that somehow got back to the boss. But anyway, he was in there, and he finally comes out and he goes, "Well, I just want to tell you, Barry's hired. We want him to, play the part of Ernie. And here's the keys to my house." He said, "It took me forever to find them. That's what took so long. I was looking for my keys, and here's my keys to my, beautiful home in Palm Springs. I want you to stay there this weekend as my guest." So it was like,
Wow.
whoa,
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, did they ask you, do you think you could act like a brother to this Stanley guy here?
That was not a question at all. No, we were real close.
You had so many different great actors on the show, and Stanley and you but Fred McMurray, what was it like to work with Fred?
This is 1960, so Fred had already been a star for probably 30 years or more. He was a Hollywood legend by that time. And of course, later years, I probably saw a lot of his great classics, Double Indemnity and Bad Day at Black Rock. But, he was a huge star from the Disney movies, Absent-Minded Professor, The Shaggy Dog. So that was cool. We were kids and those were all favorite movies of ours. So, and he was just a quiet man, just shy, not didn't partake in the whole Hollywood party scene. He was a small town kid, really, who made it big. He was, high. He was very, very wealthy, but he was of the kind of character of somebody who comes from the Midwest, probably not very fluent, and you don't let people know that you have money. That kind of is a credo of a lot of people I know. And that's kind of how he was, even though he was probably the richest guy in Hollywood. He'd come to work with a sack, a little brown sack with his lunch in it every day. He drove like an old Pontiac, where they would give him a Pontiac because that was one of the sponsors. So yeah, he was very, you know, notoriously frugal. I don't think I ever got a Christmas present from him. That said, he was sweet to us. He was nice, but and I think looked out for the boys. He had a real paternal kind of feeling towards us. But again, he was distant. It was a
Hmm.
professional situation, and we were never invited to his house to go swimming or go on trips with him. Yeah, but it was what it was.
Yeah. Now, what about William Demners and William Frawley? Now, both of those guys had this gruff appearance on the show, and were they nice? Like I said, to us watching the show, they were gruff, but had heart and all that.
Yeah, yeah,
Was that
yeah.
the way they
Well,
were?
Frawley was a notoriously big drinker, and this is back in the day when they tolerated stuff like that. It was well known, that he would go to lunch and have two or three shots of Cutty Sark, and come back and sometimes fall asleep in the afternoon in the middle of a take, because he was but he was a jolly drunk. He was a joker kind of a drunk, and a lot of fun to be around for kids because the guy, swore like a drunken sailor, and that was the funniest thing for Stan and I. We would lose it, when he would blow a line and then, followed by a line of expletives, and we think that was hysterical. And I'm sure he knew he would get a laugh too from us, so he would
Right.
lay it on even thicker. Yeah, no, he was a character. And then Demarest was the same, but not not as I think he was a recovered alcoholic, and those guys sometimes are on a little edge. He was never mean, but he just had
Mhm.
a little harder edge to him, and a little, yeah, he again, it was not a, we were kids, what is he going to ask us to go out to party with him in the evening? So
Right.
I, I mean, we worked together on set, and he was polite and professional, and occasionally would be kind of fun, but a lot of times seemed like he was a little grouchy. But you took it, you just laughed. Those guys,
Right.
they were, that's the way they were, and he didn't mind that we were laughing because, again, sometimes old codgers like that like to make us stink, and when the young people laugh, they think, mission accomplished.
Right. Looking back at the show, do you have most memorable or a couple of scenes that you remember the most or a couple of episodes?
Well, because they were extraordinary moments, out of the ordinary scenes. We did a big pie fight. Robbie had a business. He started a bakery in the house and got the family involved, and it ended in a very kind of old-fashioned silent movie pie fight. So that stands out as a very good day at the office. Working with the lion, there was again, some of these storylines you come up with, whatever Circus Vargas comes to, Bryant Park, and a lion gets loose from their, compound and winds up in our house. Well, that is, tell me if that's ever happened to anybody in the world, anywhere, ever, let alone, So but working with the lion was kind of an interesting day, and it was fun.
You've also worked on stage back in the day, and you were Linus, right? On You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown.
I think it might have been the first gig I did after Sons was canceled, and they they're doing construction about two doors down, and my house is shaking like there's an earthquake.
Oh, geez.
If you saw me look around, going, "Oh my God, what the hell's going on?" Yeah, it was the play, the musical. You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, and I was cast as Linus and had to sing and dance and had a solo and sing in an ensemble, and it was challenging, but I'd been preparing for that. I'd had some dance lessons prior to getting the gig and singing, so I think I acquitted myself fairly well. It was an NBC Hallmark Hall of Fame presentation, so it was a big deal. Those were back in the day kind of big deals on regular TV.
Yeah.
Uh, so it was, yeah, that was a good one.
But you also did it, am I correct that you did it on stage before
I
you
did
did
a
the
small
special?
in LA. I did yes, I did a production of it in LA. So yeah, not for very long. It didn't last very long. I came into it as a replacement for somebody. I was there for maybe a couple weeks. So but I don't think anybody saw me. It just it helped I guess I went in and I auditioned for them and I sang Zippity Doodah. Remember that was my audition song, Zippity Doodah, which the person who was coaching me thought, you don't want to sing a song from the show because they've heard that a million times and probably people far better singers than me doing that song. But Zippity Doodah has kind of a cartoony kind of fun
Hmm.
feel. And again, these are live characters. This is not, they had a ton of, animated Peanuts cartoons. These were actors portraying characters, Charlie Brown, Linus, Snoop Dogg, Snoopy, not Snoop Dogg.
Snoop Dogg. Yeah.
Now there's no Snoop Dogg in that show. Uh, Although Snoop Dogg's in everything these days, so
That's the new version that's coming out.
probably working on that. Anyway, yeah, it was a good experience.
Holy interviews! Hi, this is Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman. I'm on screen and beyond. Wowie zowie to the Batmobile.
Now, do you do stage work on stage?
I do. I just finished the last gig I did was at the legendary Pasadena Playhouse. I did Cyrano de Bergerac. Fantastic production. There it is again. Sorry. Yeah, it was really great. Chukwudi Iwuji. That name may not mean anything to you, but to the young folks, he was the in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. He's kind of the bad guy in it. I can't think of his name. The High Evolutionary, I think, is who he played. But unbelievable, unbelievably fantastic classical actor.
Hmm.
Unbelievable. Just crazy good. And Will Hochman, who was in Blue Bloods, was in it. Girl Rosa Salazar, who's in Captain America, coming out very soon, was also in it. So yeah, I mean, I love theater. I did Broadway, after Sons. I went back to New York. On the advice of Roddy McDowall of all people, I did a television movie called The Elevator, and it had every great old Myrna Loy was in it, Teresa Wright
Wow.
was in The Best Years of Our Lives. They was like Oscar winners or Oscar nominees. Roddy was in it. We are supposedly trapped in an elevator. James Ferrantino was one of the bad guys. Don Stroud. Anyway, but I asked Roddy, who was a very successful, famous child actor and who had transitioned into an adult career, what did you do? And he said, I went to New York. Go to New York. Learn your craft, learn life. And so, yes, I went back and worked on Broadway in 74, 75. Came back probably around 77, did some off-Broadway stuff. And over the years, I've done, worked at the Ahmanson Theater here in Los Angeles. Dinner theater, and just small equity waiver theater. I love doing theater. So yeah, it's part of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. And getting away from what we were just talking about and what we've been talking about, but were you affected at all by the fires?
No, no, where we live, we're in
Thank
the
goodness.
flatlands of the San Fernando Valley. So smoke, yeah, we had a little bit of bad air quality. Not ever threatened by flames at all. We're just too far away. Although the crazy thing, it was 100 mile an hour winds. I've never seen the Santa Ana winds, which we have every year. I've never seen them quite that ferocious and that's what. Yeah, I don't care how much water that they had in the fire hydrants or didn't have. It didn't matter because when you got a wind that's blowing 100 miles an hour and there's fire and there's embers going in every direction, and that fire was out of control so fast
Yeah.
and so hard. I know a couple people that lost everything though. That it's tragic.
Yeah. I mean, seeing the pictures on TV, you say the embers were blowing around. It looked like it was snowing, only, glowing
Fire.
snow, I mean, oh,
Yeah. No, I know people that, thought they were safe, you know, pretty far from the flames, and 15 minutes later, the house next door to them was on fire, so it was yeah, I know people don't believe in climate change. There's definitely different things that were happening that day than we had never seen before.
yeah.
Uh yeah.
Well, thankfully you didn't have to go through. I mean, you went through the smoke and everything else,
Yeah.
but not losing things. That's good.
No, I have a friend who's a very successful, music supervisor, award winning, and he lost his whole house, his studio, just in another, my publicist, Harlan.
Yes,
Uh,
Harlan lost his.
Harlan lost his house, and you can imagine the collection of memorabilia that he must have lost. It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, yeah. But now you've also been in a lot of different movies like Argo and The Social Network. I mean, some huge films. It must have been incredible to work on those.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, some of the great ones, Jersey Boys that Clint Eastwood
Jersey Boy.
directed. That was a great day. Yeah, working with Adam Sandler. And again, I had done another little cameo in Dickie Roberts' former child star, and it was just the cameo at the end where they collected the usual suspects
Mhm.
and sang some song, and Adam produced the movie. But I was on the lot doing a show called The Guardian over at Sony, and actually Emilio Estevez was the director of it, who came up to me one day and he says, "Hey, the old man says to say hi." And I'm going, "Who?" He goes, "My dad, the old man. He was a guest star on My Three Sons." I was like, "Oh, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, well, tell the old man I said hi." But anyway, so I went over to Adam's office and I thought, I'm trying to be a little proactive here. You never know. So he's got he's actually, it's Judy Garland's old dressing room is his offices over there, this big, big, beautiful offices. And so I went over to lunch. Nobody was there. And, and then, well, okay, I walked out. But Adam then comes screeching up in his golf cart, drenched in sweat. He was just playing basketball with the guys on the lot. And I thought, well, okay, go up to him, go, hey, Adam, I just want to say thanks for putting me in Dickie Roberts, Barry Livingston, I don't know if you know me. I was on the show My Three Sons, and oh man, I love that show. Oh gosh, we'd sit every Thursday night, we'd sit and watch the whole family, we'd gather in front of the TV. Oh, it was one of my favorites. I said, well, man, I'd love to be in one of your movies. Oh, sure. I'll put you in one of my movies. Yeah, no problem. So sure enough, I mean, every time he had a movie coming up in production, I would get an audition. That 2 or 3 movies, and then didn't get them. Then finally, You Don't Mess With The Zohan came around, called in, asked to audition again. I knew it was Adam doing this, requesting me. It wasn't my agent getting these things. I read for casting. They said they want you to come to a table read, but you don't have the part yet. Anyway, so, Adam's there. And he come tap on the back, and he looks and goes, oh, yeah, see, I told you I'd get you something good, man. I told you I'd get you something good. And I was like, oh, gosh, man, thank you. I'm going to cry right now, okay? Because that's too cool. Adam is renowned as one of the great, sweetest human beings in Hollywood with a big heart, loyal to his friends. Anyway, wound up doing that, and that was, great. It's a fun movie. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's
Oh, yes. Well, Barry, we're going to finish up, but before we do that, I just want to find out: are you in anything coming up that we want to keep an eye out for?
I just had a movie that came out. I think it's on Netflix called Isabel's Garden. A couple months ago. So I think that's the most recent thing that, you're interested in, want to see it. Isabel's Garden. Google to find it. I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix. But just waiting for the next wave.
Yeah. Well, Barry, finish up with the final question and taking us away from everything that you've done, of course, My Three Sons and everything else. But when you sit back and relax, what are your favorite TV shows now and of the past, and what's your favorite movies now and of the past? What do you enjoy?
Well, I'm rewatching The White Lotus, which is
Yes.
fantastic. I watched the first episode of season 3,
Mhm.
and now we're actually going back and watching, just finishing up season 1. I'll probably go through season 2. I like Slow Horses with Gary Oldman. That's really good. I just got into 6 Feet Under, which I missed in its initial airing.
I just finished it.
Fantastic, unbelievably great acting. I did an episode of Parenthood, and I did not know Peter Krause, who's the star of what not
The father.
or something. It was the father
Yes.
in Parenthood, but had I known and seen him in 6 Feet Under, I thought, oh man, I missed an opportunity just to go, what a great job he did in that series. So that's my old, and if you're going to go way back, my favorite sitcom of all time is The Honeymooners with Jackie Gleason and Art Carney.
Classic.
That and Seinfeld is great. I love watching the old Seinfelds, and comedians in cars getting coffee, I think is cool.
Yeah. Well, Barry, I cannot thank
Right.
you enough. It's always fun having you on here, and thank you for joining us again.
Okay, well, we'll see you when I see you for the 4th time.
It's always a pleasure to have Barry Livingston join us back here on the show, and I hope you enjoyed that one, and I'm sure we'll have him on again at some time. And, be sure to check out all the things he's in. Of course, if you want to see the show he was on the longest, check out My Three Sons, but he's been in a lot of movies over the years, like I said, Argo, and just so many others. Well, I hope that you are subscribing and downloading all our episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. It doesn't make any difference. And be sure to tell a friend so they too can enjoy some of their favorite TV, movie, and music stars as they share their stories and projects with us each week right here on Screen and Beyond. So I hope you will do that for me. And be sure to check out our On Screen and Beyond merchandise on onscreenandbeyond.com. You can get hats, t-shirts, mugs, sweatshirts, and more. Right over here, you can see the On Screen and Beyond mug here. I have that one with me all the time. Use that a lot, and hats and everything else. So be sure to do that. It helps us out, keep things going here. And we have to come to an end for another episode of On Screen and Beyond. That's a wrap for this episode of On Screen and Beyond. So until next time, when we once again take you on screen and beyond, I'm Brian Zemrak. Take care.